It all started with something innocent, a boy playing. August 20th, 1966. A young local was flying his kite on the quiet, grassy hill of Morro do Vintum, not far from Rio de Janeiro. He ran after his kite as the wind carried it over the brush. And that's when he stopped. There, tangled among the shrubs and tall grass, lay two men. They weren't hiding. They weren't buried. They were just there, side by side, stiff and silent, as if placed there deliberately. The boy ran to tell his father, and the police arrived hours later. At first glance, the scene didn't look like a crime. There was no blood, no visible injuries, no signs of a struggle. But the more they looked, the stranger it got. The men were dressed in formal suits, button-up shirts, neatly tied ties, and waterproof coats over their shoulders. But the most bizarre detail was on their faces. Both were wearing homemade lead masks, thick, metallic shields shaped to cover only the eyes. They looked like something from a science fiction film. Next to the bodies were a few items: an empty water bottle, a towel, a notebook, and a strange handwritten note. The note read, 1630, be at the determined place. 1830, ingest capsules. After effect, protect metals, await signal mask. That was all. No names, no directions. Just a precise schedule and some cryptic instructions. The men were eventually identified as Miguel, Jose Viana, and Manuel Pereira da Cruz, both 30-something electronics repairmen from the nearby town of Campos dos Goitacazes, just days earlier. They told their families they were heading out of town to buy parts for their business. Instead, they boarded a bus to Niterói, bought 2 identical waterproof raincoats, stopped at a local bar to buy a bottle of water, and were never seen. Alive again. The bartender later told police that the men seemed anxious, glancing at their watches often, nervous and preoccupied. What they were preparing for remained a mystery. They had no weapons. No drugs were found at the scene. Nothing outwardly illegal. But everything about the case felt wrong. When the police began digging deeper, the puzzle only got weirder. The coroner's office, swamped with other cases, didn't get around to the autopsies for several days. By then, decomposition had erased most biological clues. The official cause of death was listed as undetermined. Toxicology was impossible due to the advanced state of decay. But there were no injuries, no signs of overdose, no evidence of a struggle. The lead masks had no straps. They had to be held or placed gently over the eyes. They weren't full-face protection, just small sheets shaped to guard from radiation or blinding light. And then there was that cryptic note. No one could explain what the capsules were, what metals they needed protection from, what signal they were waiting for, and most importantly, what they thought would happen at 1830. The investigation stumbled quickly. Police tried to retrace the men's steps. Friends and family confirmed that Miguel and Manuel had been involved with a local spiritualist group, not exactly a cult, but a circle of like-minded men interested in paranormal communication. They believed in energies, astral projection, and possibly even contact with extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings. One friend confessed that weeks prior, they had attempted a similar ritual, taking unknown capsules and waiting in silence. That attempt had been aborted due to a lack of spiritual readiness. This time, it seems, they followed through, alone. But with what result? There was no sign of a third person. No one else on the hill. No footprints leading away. No vehicles. It looked like they had calmly walked up there, followed their instructions, and simply died. The idea of suicide was floated, but ruled out. The men had made plans to return. They had purchased materials. Their families were expecting them home. Miguel had even bought some electrical components for a customer. It didn't fit. If it was suicide, it was the strangest, calmest suicide ever seen. But if not suicide, what then? Whispers of UFOs began to swirl. Some claimed there were sightings of strange lights in the sky over Morro de Vintom that week. A few locals said they heard a low hum, a vibration, like distant machinery. None of it could be verified. Yet the lead masks seemed to suggest something visual, something they thought they needed to shield their eyes from. Why else would they take the time to cut, bend, and shape lead sheets into eyewear? These weren't mass-produced items. They were handmade, precise. Did they believe they would see something dangerous, something divine or extraterrestrial? Others suggested that the two men were experimenting with radiation. But again, there were no burns, no damage to their clothes, no signs of exposure. Some even speculated that the capsules were radioactive or contained hallucinogens, that they died from accidental overdose, unaware of the power of what they had taken. But if that were true, where were the capsules? Where was the container? Why were their personal effects arranged so neatly? There was no panic, no disorder. Everything about the scene felt intentional. And then the strangest details came out. Small things that made everything even more unsettling. Like how the towel they brought was carefully folded. How both men were lying on their backs, side by side, hands relaxed. Not curled in pain, not reaching for help. As if they had simply fallen asleep. Or as if someone or something had placed them there. Years passed. The case remained open, then quietly closed. No further answers, no confessions, no follow-ups from any spiritual groups. No others came forward to claim they had taken part in similar rituals. The mystery simply went cold. And that's what makes it so terrifying. It wasn't just unsolved. It was abandoned, as if no one wanted to know the truth. As if knowing would be worse than not knowing. Today, the story of the lead masks remains one of Brazil's most chilling unsolved cases. It sits in the same eerie hall of legends as the Dyatlov Pass, the Somerton Man, and the vanishing plane of Flight 19. A real-life X-file. No explanation, no closure. Just two men who believed in something. Believed it deeply enough to walk into the hills, wearing suits and lead masks, and face whatever came next. We don't know what killed them. We don't know what they saw. All we have is a note, a timeline, and a terrible silence. Maybe they expected to come back. Maybe they thought the signal would transport them to another plane of existence. Maybe they were misled. Or maybe, just maybe, they succeeded, and what we found were only the bodies left behind.